Hey everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Could everybody hear me? If you can hear me, just let me know in the chat. Perfect. My name is Lisa Malvin. I am the Assistant Director for Professional Development Programs here at the Graham School. Before I send it over to Lori, I just want to give you a little bit of information about the webinar. If you have tech problems throughout as we go through this, you can send me a private chat, or you can just message me through chat. I'll be on the webinar the entire time. Hopefully we won't have any tech problems, but if you do, let me know. If at any point you want to turn off your video, you can do so. You just click the stop video button in the bottom corner, and then it turns it off. I will also turn it off for you because people start, when they see that we can see them, sometimes get a little nervous. So I will turn it off for you, but if you ever want to turn it on or off, you can do that. And make sure that you keep yourself muted so that we don't have any playback as we go through. Please keep your questions to the end. It's a little hard to read while we're doing the presentation, so we'll leave about 10 minutes at the end for questions. I'm also going to send out a survey at the end, so please let us know your feedback. We'd like to hear what you think about these things so that we can do more of them. But I think that is it for me, so I'm going to send it over to Lori.
Great. Well, hello, everybody. I hope you had a great day. My name is Lori Milto, and I have been a freelance medical writer since 1999. Now, I'm going to be on the screen in the beginning, and then I'll come back on for the Q&A at the end, but I'm going to turn my video off in a few minutes. Oh, so of course I'm having tech problems the minute that we start this. Okay. So by figuring out what works best to attract high-paying clients, I was able to build my six-figure freelance business in 18 months. And as we go through the webinar, you don't have to worry about taking notes, just listen and take it in. I put together an e-guide to freelance marketing. It's going to cover the 3 strategies that we're going to talk about tonight. And it's also going to have more tips for you and also some more templates. And as Lisa said, we're going to take questions at the end. Now, I've met a lot of freelance medical writers and editors over the years, and for most of them, it's really hard to build a stable, high-income freelance business. And that's really just because, you really don't have a chance to learn about marketing. You learn about writing or editing and medical stuff. And most of the advice that's out there, it isn't focused on freelancers, so that makes it harder. The good news is that clients really need our help. You just need to know how to find them and attract them and do it without wasting your time and your money. Okay, let me see if I could turn myself off. All right, great. So what we're going to talk about today are the 3 marketing strategies that work best for freelance medical writers and editors in getting high-paying clients: direct email, strategic networking, and targeted follow-up. I'm going to tell you about how I use these strategies to build my business, and many other freelancers have also used them too. So you're going to learn by the end of the webinar how to find and attract high-paying clients, how to get more referrals, and how to convert more of your prospects into these clients. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. It takes time and work, but if you do the work, you will see the results. First, I want to tell you about the foundation of all marketing for a freelance business. Clients only care about what you can do for them. So you need to identify client needs and focus your marketing on how you meet those needs. And we're going to talk about that in the webinar, and keep this in mind as you start to market your business and build it. As freelance medical writers and editors, or people who are planning to become freelance medical writers and editing, you've already taken one of the most important steps in building a successful business, and that is having a money-making specialty. Money-making specialty offers lots of opportunities for freelancers and it makes it easy for you to find and reach your prospects. Specializing is the fastest, easiest way to succeed in freelancing. Medical writing and editing is a big specialty. That's good and that's bad. It's good because there's tons of opportunities. It's bad because it takes a little while to find your place. And that's okay. Most freelancers, including me, start out broad and narrow it down over time as you get more experience, learn more about the market for your services, what you like to do, what you don't like to do, what people will hire you to do. The e-guide has a pretty long list of sample clients and projects for freelance medical writers and editors. And this is actually based on a presentation that I did last year at the American Medical Writers Association annual conference with my colleague, Julie Munden. I'm going to be talking a lot about AMWA in this webinar. If you're not a member, I really suggest that you join and get involved. And we're going to talk about this more when we get to strategic networking. So now, let's dive into the 3 best strategies for freelancers. Number 1 is direct email. Now, I started out in 1997, and nobody was using email for marketing back then, so I used direct mail instead of direct email. The same principles apply to both, except direct email is much, much easier to do, and it's also free. When you do it right, direct email is very effective in attracting high-paying clients because you're going to be carefully targeting the clients who can pay you what you're worth, and you're going to be focusing your direct emails on their needs. So you basically make yourself irresistible to them. And during this webinar, I'm going to share some success stories with you so you can see how this stuff is working for other freelancers. Before, and then after the success stories, I'm going to go into some of the theory about how you do this stuff. So Kathleen is a freelance medical writer, and she's actually a fairly new freelance medical writer. I think she's been doing it for about 3 years now. Within a few months of her first direct email campaign, she got 3 clients. And like many freelancers, she was skeptical about using direct email, but she found out that it really works. Brandon got 7 clients, 5 within a few months, from his direct email campaign in 2007. And we're going to talk a little bit more about him when we get to targeted follow-up. This year, there's plenty of work out there that needs to be done. Absolutely true. So your direct email campaign is going to have 3 steps. First, you have to develop your prospect list or lists, write the direct emails, and then you follow up with your prospects. I'm going to cover prospect lists fairly quickly here, but the e-guide has a lot more information on how to find prospects. Okay, remember I said in the beginning that this was going to be work? You're not going to get clients by sending 5 or 10 direct emails. I have freelancers email me. They tell me that they tried direct email. It didn't work for them. And I ask them how many they sent. They say 10. You need to have a fairly big list. Now, it does take time to research the organizations and to develop your prospect list, but it's well worth the effort. So there are many ways that you can find high-paying clients for your prospect list. Professional associations are the easiest ways through their member directories. The member directories usually have all of the information that you need, including the contact person for each organization, and usually, but not always, his or her email address, but I'll tell you how to find email addresses later. And another benefit of using the member directories is just by scrolling through it, you're going to find some clients that you might not have thought to market to on your own. You can also use leading company lists and LinkedIn. Now, these are both helpful in finding companies, but leading company lists and online directories, they're not going to give you the contact person you need, so then you're going to have to do more research. And LinkedIn is really good for that. When you know a company, to find the contact person. You can also find related prospects. There's a section on LinkedIn profiles on the right side called People Also Viewed. And there you will find people in the same organization and other organization who have similar titles who could be great prospects for you also. And the e-guide has a lot of details on how to search on LinkedIn. So you need to know who hires freelancers. And this is going to vary somewhat by the type of work that you do and also by the type of company, but also even within companies, the people that would be your boss are going to have different titles. So people who hire freelancers or manage the people who hire freelancers are usually fairly high up, and these are some of their titles. The departments that they work in, again, is going to vary by the type of work that you do and also even within companies. After you start to learn more about your target markets, you're going to learn the best search terms. For example, I do a lot of work with hospitals, so it's almost always a marketing department where I'm going to find my prospects, and my clients are usually a vice president or director of marketing. It's not always easy to figure out who the right contact person is, but you don't have to. If you get close to the right person and you send a professional, client-focused direct email, the person you send it to is very likely to forward it to the right person. And this has happened to me lots of times, and I've gotten clients that way, and other freelancers have too. So here are just a few specific types of clients in medical writing and medical editing. To start out, you want to pick maybe 2 or 3 types of clients for your prospect lists. And as I said, the e-guide has a much longer list of these. I don't want you to waste your time. And the way that you do that is you focus on your best prospects first. In general, large businesses and other large organizations are the best clients for us because they often work with multiple freelancers. They understand the value that we bring to them, and they can pay us what we're worth. But there are other types of high-paying clients too. They include foundations, some of the larger nonprofit organizations, even some universities, and some small companies that you probably wouldn't think of. The e-guide tells you more about how you can research companies and organizations, including how to find the right contact person and how to find his or her email address, which isn't hard if you know the trick that the guide will tell you. So, direct email, as I said, it works because you're going to focus on the client needs and how you meet their needs. First, you need to understand what those needs are, so let's talk about that a little. Clients have 3 basic types of needs: general needs, freelancer-specific needs, and then industry and company-specific needs. And you're only going to choose a few to focus on, but it helps to understand as many of them as you can. So these are common general needs, and you'll see that I've put stay on budget and on deadline in bold because all clients want freelancers to do that. The other needs here tend to differ a little bit by the type of client, and I'm going to give you a few examples, I think a little bit later. So be a thought leader. A university might want to be considered a thought leader. Educate and inform people. Disease-focused association, that would be their goal. Help their clients build their businesses. Medcoms and med eds, that's what their goal is. And obviously, you know, their real goal is to make more money, get more business, make more money, but they do that by helping their clients build their businesses. Other types of clients like hospitals and medical practices, they would want to get more business and / make more money. When looking for a freelancer, clients want someone who has excellent writing or editing or writing and editing skills. That's a given. But these are also things that they're looking for. They want you to have experience in the type of work that they're looking for help with, but you can talk your way around this sometimes. You have to be able to meet their deadlines. I said a few minutes ago, stay on budget and on deadline. You need to communicate with the clients. You need to make their lives easier by being flexible, accessible, and responsive, and take ownership of the project so you're not nagging them and asking them questions all of the time. Now, industry and company specific needs, those are harder to learn about, and it does take a little bit of time. The courses that you're taking at the Graham School are going to help you with that. Professional associations are also going to help you, both through the resources that the associations provide and by networking with other members. The American Medical Writers Association, or AMWA, is a key association for medical writers and editors. And you can also follow general industry news. To learn about the needs of a particular company or organization, that's actually pretty easy. You just go to their website, spend a few minutes there. The home and about pages usually have all of the information that you need. And when you're making your prospect list, if you jot down some notes about the prospect's mission, vision, values, and their needs, some of the key language, you're going to start to see patterns among certain types of clients that you can use as themes in your direct emails. So here's a few specific client needs. So medical communication agencies, which we call medcoms, they need to make more money, but they do that by helping their clients build their businesses. So what you want to focus on is how you can help them help their clients. Hospitals, which are one of my target markets, they need to get more business, which really translates into getting more patients. So I focus on how I can help them get more patients. Now let's talk a little about writing direct emails that are going to help you attract clients. I'm going to cover theory. I'm going to show you some examples. The examples are going to be a little hard to read here, but they'll be very clear in the e-guide. The most important part of your direct email is the subject line, so you want to write that last. And as I said before, you're only going to pick one or two client needs to focus on because the email has to be short. So you greet the client by name, and then you need to show that you understand their needs. Then you write one or two sentences about your most relevant experience and how this enables you to meet the client's need. You need to include a link to your website, and if you don't have one yet, then to your LinkedIn profile so the client can easily get more information about you. You end with a call to action, and that's something that says what you want to happen next, such as, should we schedule a call next week to discuss this? And then you want to always include your contact information and make sure that you include your website or LinkedIn profile there as well as your phone number. The email has to be short, no more than 6 sentences. You want to make it personal. Use the company's name in the subject line and again in the email, and greet the person by name. You want to write short, easy to read paragraphs and use a subhead for one of your key messages. And you're going to use some of the company's language and or values in your email. So this is what I talked about for your prospect list, where you're going to jot that down when you're looking on the website and learning about them. I'm going to show you 2 examples of direct email, one for a hospital and one for a medcom. Okay, so this is an example of one of my direct emails for a children's hospital. And the information in blue appeals to their key need of helping more sick children. From a business perspective, helping sick children is how they get more business. The red is language that I've picked up from the hospital website. So I'm using some of their language to show how I can help them. And children's hospitals, when I do direct emails for regular hospitals, they're a little bit more business focused, but children's hospitals are softer and they focus more on helping sick kids and language like that. So I use that type of language in my emails to children's hospitals, and I only learned about the difference between children's hospitals and regular hospitals by doing research on them. So here is an example of a direct email for a MedCom, and their key need, again, shown in blue. They need to help their pharmaceutical company clients grow their businesses by building relationships with clinicians. Now, other MedComs, they have the same basic need, but they may not use language like building relationships with clinicians. So you need to tailor this to this specific company. And they need to compete in a value-focused marketplace. The information in red here is language that I've picked up from their website. And here I'm showing you what a call to action and contact information looks like, because I couldn't fit it all in on the other emails. One of the most important things you can do when you're doing a direct email campaign is to follow up, because that's where most of your responses are going to come from. People are very, very busy. They may miss your email. They may see it and mean to reply, but get busy and forget. So if you don't hear back from somebody, you're going to follow up about 7 to 10 days later, politely and professionally. And this is really, really easy to do. You just start with a subject line that says follow up, refers to the date of your original email and the subject line in your original email. And then something like, I'd love to learn more about ABC Hospital's freelance needs and the ways in which I can help you meet those needs. And then you forward your original email below that. Now, you saw just in the two examples here that the type of language used is very different in these two examples, and the language that I used for hospitals is much less formal. That's another thing that you're going to pick up from doing your research on your prospects. You want to use the language that's going to be appropriate for whoever your prospects are. So, up to 90% of the time, clients aren't ready to hire you when you first contact them. Sometimes you do get lucky and they need a freelancer right away. But usually, some of the prospects that you email are going to get back to you, tell you that they're interested in their services, but they don't need help right away. These clients may need a freelancer next week, next month, next year. One of my biggest clients, who I've been working with for 20 years, hired me after about 2 years of follow-up. And other clients regularly, other freelancers regularly get clients by what I call targeted follow-up, which is the third key marketing strategy that we're going to cover a bit later. So as I mentioned, when you attract the clients, they are going to want to know more about you before they contact you, and they're going to want to check you out online. You do need to have a client-focused LinkedIn profile. You should have a website, but for the first year or so of your business, you can get away with just having the LinkedIn profile. And this isn't part of the webinar today, and we don't really have time to cover it, but this is just a very brief overview of your LinkedIn profile. The headline is the most important part. That's how clients search. That's how you come up in search results. And having the right keywords and a really strong beginning of your summary, because that's the part they see before they have to click more. The e-guide has a lot of information about how to write a client-focused LinkedIn profile. Strategy number 2 is strategic networking. Word of mouth, or referrals, is the easiest way to build your freelance business. But people need to know you and they need to trust you before they'll refer work to you. And when you have a strategic network, you have that trust. referrals are very, very powerful because when you get a referral, that client usually needs to hire a freelancer right away. And often, frankly, they're desperate. Since somebody the client trusts referred you, the client is predisposed to like you and to hire you without really, any marketing on your part. Since you trust the person who made the referral, the client is likely to be a high-paying client who will treat you right. And along with getting more referrals, building a strategic network has a lot of other benefits. It will help you learn how to better manage your business, and it will relieve the isolation of freelancing. So I hope you guys are laughing as you're looking at this. A lot of people, particularly freelancers who tend to be on the shy side, hate networking because they think that they have to sell themselves. And that's not what networking is about. It's just about getting to know people and finding people who can be useful to you and you to them. So I'm going to talk about this, and I'm also going to talk about some ways to make networking less stressful. Other freelancers are a key part of your strategic network. You want to network with freelancers who do work like yours because they can refer work to you when they're too busy to take more. And freelancers who do different types of work will be looking for somebody to refer to when they hear about something that they don't do. And then other colleagues in medical writing and editing are also part of your network. Professional associations, fastest, easiest way to build your strategic network and to also meet clients. So now you have professional associations to help you build your prospect list and to help you build your network. This is a quote from freelance medical and science writer Mia DeFina. Now, normally it takes more than just meeting somebody to get referrals, but once in a while you'll meet somebody and you'll click right away and really feel like you can trust the other person. My referrals have come mostly from colleagues who I've volunteered with at AMWA. I've even gotten referrals from people who I don't know or didn't remember. So these are people who knew of me from my volunteer work. They may have read an article I wrote for the AMWA Journal. They may have been at one of my presentations, whatever. All of these referrals have been to clients who pay me well and treat me right. One was to a medical communications agency, and I don't usually work for medcoms because I do more marketing communications and healthcare content marketing and health journalism. And I never would have pursued this client on my own, but the work is really interesting and I'm good at it. And I never would have found out about this if I hadn't been networking with my colleague. I've also given over the years hundreds of referrals to other freelancers over the years. And most of these are AMWA members that I've volunteered with. This year, I've referred other freelancers to two of my clients. For the first client, she was actually looking for a new editor. And I had mentioned some problems with the editor because the client was sending me the editor's comments on my work for me to decide whether to accept the comments or not. And, this editor kept doing things that went against the client's style and was asking irrelevant questions that wasted my time and my client's money. So, I let my client know about this, and she had told me that she was very unhappy with this editor. She asked me if I knew anybody else, and I did. Now, I also know that this client uses other freelance medical writers, and I had a colleague who I knew was looking to get a little more work, who would be a good fit for her. So I asked my client if she was looking for more writers, and she said she was always happy to meet other freelancers. So I introduced them, and within a few months, they were working together too. These were not arbitrary referrals. I would never, ever, ever refer anybody to my clients who I didn't really know and trust. The editor had done some work for me, so I know and trusted her. And the writer was a longtime colleague and friend. And we met at an AMWA conference, I believe 2008, and we've kept in touch. Since then, we volunteered together, writing a journal article for AMWA, doing a session together at the annual conference. And she has also referred clients to me. The other client was a new client for me, and I knew that they use a lot of freelance medical writers. So I referred my colleague who was looking for more work to this client too. If you're not a member of AMWA, I really, really do recommend that you join. Most of my network is through AMWA, and being active has helped me get many clients over the years, especially when I was starting my business. The annual conference is a terrific opportunity to network and to learn. And some parts of the country also have chapters, and the chapters have local events. AMWA also has its own social networking platform called Engage. There's a general one, and there's one that's just for freelancers. You can also learn more about client needs and stay updated on what's happening in medical writing and editing, which is important for all of your marketing. AMWA has a freelance directory. The client I mentioned, who I just referred the writer and editor to, she found me through the freelance directory, and I love this client. It's integrative healthcare. I never would have heard about this organization on my own. So developing a client-focused listing can be an easy way to get great clients. What you do, the work you do on your LinkedIn profile, you can use most of that in your freelance directory profile. And these are just a few other professional associations that could be right for you. It depends on the type of work that you do. And you do need to just, sometimes you need to join an association for a year and see if you think it's helpful to you. Volunteering is the quickest way to build trust and strong relationships and to show that you're competent. When you volunteer, you meet and often have a chance to impress leaders in the association, and those leaders have large networks. I started volunteering with AMWA the year that I joined, and I volunteered both for my chapter and for the national organization. And I started out doing really small things like sitting at a registration desk at the chapter meeting and writing articles for our chapter newsletter. Over time, I started presenting at the annual conference and other conferences. I was an officer for my chapter, and I've been on lots of committees with national and more. All professional associations use volunteers, and usually there's information about this right on the website. If there's not, you can just email one of the officers. Along with volunteering, you want to be active by attending the live events like the annual conference and local meetings or events. And if the association has a social network, participate in that too. Nothing is ever going to be in-person networking for making strong contacts and beginning to build relationships with people. Conferences are terrific because you can meet a lot of people in a few days. But networking in person can be stressful. So you want to remember, everybody is there to network, and most freelancers and many other people in medical writing and editing are shy, so they'll be glad if you talk to them. Smile when you're networking. It makes you seem confident, makes you seem approachable. You don't want to talk too much about yourself. Instead, you're going to ask people about their work and their interests, and you're going to focus about how you can help them. And this makes networking much easier, and it also works much better. When it's time to move on, just say something like, I've enjoyed chatting with you, but I don't want to keep you because I know there are many other people to talk to. You need to have reasonable expectations when you network. You're not going to leave an event with new clients, dozens of relationships, hundreds of great contacts. It takes time. You want to be nice to everybody who you meet, but you also want to look for people who can be the most help to you and you to them. And this was one of the mistakes that I made in my early years of networking, because I really didn't think strategically. Now, because I did a lot of volunteering, I still got a lot of referrals and met clients. But if you build a strategic network from the start, it's easier and more effective. So when you find these folks, you want to spend most of your networking time building relationships with them. The quality of your contacts is much more important than the quantity. Meeting somebody at an event is just the first step in building relationships. Follow up soon after the event with the people who you think could be helpful to you and you to them. And you can do this by inviting the person to join your LinkedIn network. You can send them an email to say, nice to meet you. You could do both of these. You could even send a handwritten card that you mail. After that, you want to stay in touch with your new contacts regularly, which will cover more in targeted follow-up. Helping others without expecting anything in return or giving more than you take is the best way to build strong relationships with people. It's going to boost your credibility and build trust. And people you help, they're going to remember you when they have a freelance opportunity or something else to share. Giving is one of the things that makes networking easier, because you're not trying to sell your services. You're just focusing on getting to know people and helping them. Adam Grant is a management and psychology professor at the Wharton School. And he wrote a best-selling book called Give and Take, where he showed how helping others drives success. Grant found that people who share their time, knowledge, ideas, and connections with others without expecting anything in return, the givers, are more successful than people who focus only on self-promotion, the takers. And it's really not hard to do this. You listen when you talk to people, whether it's in person or online. And then you follow up by sharing information and resources that you think would be useful to them and connecting them to people who could be useful to them. For example, you might introduce people who do similar work or introduce clients to other types of freelancers that they need. Giving referrals to other freelancers is a terrific way to give more than you take, because you help other freelancers by sharing opportunities that aren't right for you, and you help clients meet their needs for freelancers. Okay, so now we're on to the third strategy, targeted follow-up. Many freelancers miss out on getting great clients because they never or rarely follow up with clients who've expressed interest in their services but haven't hired them yet. The single most important thing that you can do to get great clients is to stay in touch with interested clients regularly so that you'll be first in line for freelance work. You've already done the hard work. You've already researched them. You've already written and sent the direct email. Follow-up is easy. So I used this first statistic before, about 90% of clients not needing a freelancer when you first contact them. The second stat, 80% of sales are made after at least 5 marketing contacts. That's not specific to freelancing, that's just sales in general. And I don't think that you need to have 5 contacts with somebody to get a new client, but you do almost always need a few. So again, here are a few success stories about targeted follow-up. There's a really, really good chance that clients who express interest in your services but don't hire you right away are going to need a freelancer in a few months or even a few years. I've had many freelancers tell me that clients have hired them after a few months of follow-up. Sometimes it takes longer. Earlier, I told you about my client I've been working with for 20 years who first started hiring me after about 2 years of me following up with them. Here's another freelancer who got 3 of her 4 new clients last year from following up with them. And it only takes a few minutes to do this, but the return on your investment is huge. Because targeted follow-up makes clients think of you first when they need a freelancer, and it makes colleagues think of you first when they have freelance work to refer. Because everybody's busy. If you don't remind them that you're around, they're not going to think about you. Interested clients, these are the clients, again, who have expressed interest in your services but haven't hired you yet. They're the main focus of your targeted follow-up. But you also want to stay in touch with your key colleagues too, particularly other freelancers. It's not hard to do this, and it's not about selling yourself. Most of the time, you're not even going to be mentioning your freelance services. It's a lot like give more than you take when you're networking with people. It's about being relevant, helpful, and persistent. And once you get organized, it only takes a few minutes now and then. So there are 3 types of targeted follow-up. Most of what you do should be customized to the client or the colleague because this makes much more of an impression. There's different ways to do this. You can comment on news, blog posts, etc. about either the contact person or their organization. You can find news through the company's website on their newsroom page, set Google alerts, follow them on LinkedIn updates. And you also can share relevant resources, anything that you think would be helpful to them. And again, professional associations have lots of resources that you could use. Now, often you can share the same resource with a lot of people, but you're doing it one at a time, so it's customized follow-up. You want to develop a library of resources so that you won't have to scramble to find things to send when it's time for your follow-up. And there's lots and lots of great stuff out there on the web. The e-guide has more information on sources, and it also has some examples. I like to sign up for e-newsletters, and that generally gives me most of the things that I use, along with resources for professional associations, and sometimes LinkedIn posts. Generic targeted follow-up is where you send the same thing to everybody on your list, and these would be things like holiday cards or your e-newsletter. Holiday cards, I mean print cards that arrive in the mail. And if you get them out early, that's a great way to help people remember you. My holiday cards are in the mail the Monday after Thanksgiving weekend. An e-newsletter, again, that provides useful and not sales-oriented content, is another great way to follow up with clients and colleagues, and you're also showing how you can help the clients meet their needs. Now, if you're doing the other targeted follow-up, then once or twice a year, it's perfectly fine to send a polite, professional, direct email reminder that you're available to freelance work. And you send this to clients who've expressed interest in your services but haven't hired you yet. And you can also do it with clients who clients you've been working with, but maybe you haven't heard from them for a while. But this has to be part of your overall follow-up. It can never be the only time that you contact people. And the e-guide has information about what you should say in your direct email follow-up. Treat your follow-up like a deadline for a client and get it done. So many people tell me that they have a lot of trouble following up with people. You just have to make it a priority, put it on your calendar, and do it. Interested clients, you want to follow up about every 2 months, and your freelance colleagues about every 3 to 4 months. Okay, so now you know the 3 marketing strategies for high-income freelance medical writing and or editing. I know it's a lot to absorb at once, but when you go through the e-guide, you'll have all the information right in front of you. The key to all effective marketing is to focus on client needs and how you meet those needs. If you do that, then you will be able to attract high-paying clients and build a high-income freelance business with direct email, strategic networking, and targeted follow-up. You do need to do the work. Freelancing is a business, and a lot of freelancers don't really understand that they are running a business. Clients don't fall from the sky into your lap. You have to work for them. Like all businesses, it takes time and it takes effort to succeed. And we all face obstacles along the way. But if you're willing to do the work, you can build a high-income freelance business as a medical writer, medical editor, or both. So I mentioned the e-guide. Lisa's going to send you the link to the webinar recording along with the e-guide, and there's also a handout for the slides. The last slide here has my contact information, so feel free to contact me. And now we'll do some questions now. If I don't get to your question, you can feel free to email me later, and also check out the e-guide because that may answer the questions for you. All right, let me see if I can get myself back on video. There we go. Okay. So what else would you guys like to know? Oh. Lisa?
Yeah, they're going to use the chat to submit questions. So you guys can use the chat and we'll try to get to all your questions.
I don't see the chat.
You go down to the bar below and click the chat. Or you can stop sharing your screen as well, and then you'll be able to see it much easier.
Stop share. Okay. All right. So far this just looks like questions from that aren't related to the webinar. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad I'm seeing here someone saying, oh, you covered all my questions. Well, I'm sure you'll think of more later because that's what happens when you start to think about this stuff. So as I said, you can feel free to email me later about this. You know, everything I've talked about works, but you do have to do the work. All right. Okay, somebody's asking, do you prefer do clients prefer that you are like local to them, or are they okay with working with you from a distance? When I started my business, I only marketed to clients that were within about a 2 or 3 hour drive of me because I thought that I would have to at least meet them once, maybe go up and see them once in a while. But I have most of my clients I've never even met, and I have clients all over the country. Occasionally, there will be some clients and some types of work where they do want somebody who can come in and meet with you, and they may be having certain meetings they want you to attend and things like that. But for the most part, your clients can be located anywhere. Yes, somebody's asking me about suggestions for hiring web designers to create your website and what kind of content. I can, that's a very big question, but I definitely can send you some resources. So Leonard, if you want to just email me and I will send you some links to some information that will help you with all of that. I absolutely positively recommend hiring a web designer because clients, when they check you out, if you don't look professional, they're going to move on to the next freelancer on the list. Are there any companies you will not work with for ethical or other reasons? That's really a personal decision that each person has to make for him or herself. I personally have not come across any type of client that I would stay away from. I have fired clients who were doing things that I thought were unethical, and that's one of the things that as a newer freelancer you're always hesitant to do. But once you start to get experience and start networking with other freelancers, you learn that sometimes we do need to do that for ethical reasons. And, you know, companies you won't work with other reasons. You know, I talked in the webinar about working with clients who treat you right. We all deserve to work with clients who understand what we're bringing to them and who treat us right. But again, these aren't things that you can know most of the time before you start working with a client. Someone's asking where the e-guide is. Lisa's going to send you a link to that, I believe, tomorrow. The HBA is actually called the Healthcare Business Women's Association. And, but I believe it's open to men too now, and that's why they call it HBA. It is an incredibly excellent professional association, but it's primarily based on pharma and devices. So if you do that type of work, you definitely want to check it out. I don't do much of that type of work, so it was not a good fit for me, but they had incredible programming and resources. And Jean, I see you're also asking about clients and what you charge them. That's a very different subject. AMWA does have a salary survey. It's on their website. So if you join, you will be able to access that and see what freelancers are charging in general. And that is an area where networking with other freelancers can be very, very helpful in learning about what people charge for different types of work. Yeah, there's a lot of variables and different types of medical writing and editing. You can make more than others, also different types of clients. Some clients pay you fees for projects, and some clients pay you hourly. So that's a very complicated, that would be a whole other webinar. Hope that was a little bit of help for you. What are some of the main areas of specialization in medical writing and editing? Well, my area is healthcare content marketing and health journalism, and that's one of the more creative sides of this. Medical education and CME, continuing medical education, that is a huge and growing area. There's lots and lots of opportunities there. And one of the professional associations, it's used to be the Alliance for Continuing Medical Education. It's got a different name, but it's on the slide. That's a great organization if you're interested in that type of work. Medical communications is different than education. Medical communications, they tend to work mostly for pharma and device companies, helping them market their drugs and market their clinical trials. Contract research organizations who work with pharma on their drug development programs. They're another great market for freelancers. There's just so much out there, and you just have to learn about it and see what you think you would enjoy and be good at and have the background to do.
I don't think anybody, well, we're going to stay on the line for a little bit longer if you guys have additional questions. So we'll stay on for like 5 more minutes, and feel free to continue to ask questions. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for attending. I will send out the survey tomorrow, as well as the recording, the e-guide, and everything. So if you don't get it by like tomorrow night or the next day, let me know. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and let us know if you have any questions. I'm available to answer questions about the medical writing program if you have questions about that, and otherwise we'll stay online for a little bit.
And, like I said, feel free to email me anytime in the future. If you join AMWA, let me know. We are having the annual conference it's the beginning of November in Washington, D.C. So if you take a look at that, you decide you want to go, send me an email. We'll see if we can get together there. I can introduce you to some folks. Yes, the contact information is in, it's in the slides, and I believe